Hey, it's Matt Pinfield on KLOS, noon approved. I've got the incredible Sebastian Bach with me, and he's got a brand new song out, which
Mhm.
is really incredible. We've been playing it a lot. Sebastian, what's going on? Good to see you, man.
Well, hey man, first of all, Matt, I just have to thank you and KLOS for playing my new song. And I've just been informed that What Do I Got to Lose is the number one most added song on active rock radio this week in the United States of America.
Which is fantastic news. Isn't that incredible? I mean,
What decade is this?
I don't know. Well, you deserve it. That's the thing. I mean, you've inspired so many young artists that are out there. Big fans of yours, big fans of Skid Row, your Skid Row years. Those are important records, and you've done a lot. I mean, you've done a lot of great things. What do I got to lose? First of all, I got to talk to you about that because I love that you're working with Miles Kennedy and Elvis Basquet, the great producer. And I know you were really excited to work with these guys. You felt revitalized. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I didn't know that people made records like that anymore. I hadn't left the house. I didn't even know that we could go to the airport. But Elvis Basquet reached out to my management and said, I want to do the next Sebastian Bach record. And we had talked back in like 2009 about the Angel Down record. And um, it didn't work out then. And so I was in my house in the pandemic listening to Sirius XM radio in my hot tub, which is where I spent a lot of my time in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I heard this song come on called Distance. And it was no matter what the distance is, I will be with you. And it hit me so hard that I had to hold on like to the counter in my bathroom because my knees were buckling. That's how music can hit me sometimes. So I go, who is that? And they said that's Wolfgang Van Halen, his song that he wrote to his dad, Eddie. And I lost my dad at a very young age. He was 57. So any lyric like that really hits me between the heart. And then I just said immediately, who produced that? Because I love the sound of it. And I'm an audiophile, I'm a vinyl collector, as you can see. And so I'm always looking to make my albums sound as great as they possibly can. So I Googled it and it was my buddy Elvis Basquet. So I was like, oh man, okay, now I hear some sounds that are just freaking me out. So I said to my management, absolutely, I will do a record, no problem. I can't wait to do a record with Elvis. And I have been working on song ideas for like 8 years, no joke. And so he's like, okay, you guys are going to move into the studio, which is a big house in Orlando, Florida. And and we all lived together in this house for like a month. Me, Jeremy Colson on drums from Steve Vai's band, Todd Kearns on bass from Slash's band, and Devin Bronson on guitar, who I got hooked up with through Duff McKagan. Um, and he worked on my last record with me too. So we all lived there, and I hadn't been out of the house in so long. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna move to Orlando. I'm gonna hit all the sites. We're gonna go to the beach. We're gonna go, check out Orlando. But we didn't ever go out. We went out like the first night, and then we just focused on this record. And he has like an old Neve board in the studio from the 70s. And like that's my favorite era of music. That's what I grew up listening to. So I like the records from the 70s. And his board is an old Neve board. Um, I warmed up. I sang all day in this big tiled bathroom where Miles Kennedy would sing every day just to get our voices going. And I'd write lyrics all day and then come down and I didn't know. I just I feel so lucky to be able to go through that experience of recording a record as far as a lot of people these days like send files across the internet and then record in their house. And there's nothing wrong with getting ideas going like that. It's very useful. But as far as recording a band, nothing beats sitting in a circle in pre-production and looking at each other in the eye and getting the vibe and the emotion and the feel. So that's the way Elvis does it, and you can hear it. You can hear it in this song, which is the number one most added song on radio this week.
Which I think is great. I mean, that's the thing that made records great and made bands gangs. You know, like when you're working with the guys there in front of you, you're there, you get a vibe and a feeling off each other, right? I mean, that's
right. Now, do you collect vinyl, Matt? Or
yeah, I do. I have so much, actually, to be honest with you. Because I was getting records since I was a kid.
Right.
You know, in the 70s, late 60s, all the way through the 70s. I'm very similar to you. I love all that old rock too, so
I love the sound of it. And that's what the band's made. Like our good buddy Eddie Trunk, he loves to tell everybody how he loves the CD, right? But the bands didn't make CDs. They made records.
Yeah.
When you take a record and transform it into a CD, you're making an analog signal into a digital signal. You're turning round waves into square waves. I don't know if that's how you put it, but I want to hear what the band made. Like, I mean, even as far as like if like a Frank Sinatra record from the 60s, right? Or something like that. And if you have the right system, like I have different vinyl systems in my house. My living room is the best one. And it's a 79 Kenwood marble turntable that I can barely pick up. It's so heavy. I got these old Advent speakers from the 70s. So if you put on a record on that system, that a record is from that era, you're hearing that year, right? You know what I'm saying?
That's what you are.
That's what I find fascinating. And that leads me to my next thing that I can't wait to tell you, Matt.
Yeah.
This album is mastered by a guy named Robert Ludwig. Do you know who that is from your albums?
Oh, yeah. I saw it on all the albums over the years. And then I went in and had a record mastered by him years ago when I was doing A&R Columbia Records, Crossfade. And he told me all these stories. I was like picking his brain. I wanted to hear about these records and these artists,
I tried to do that. I said I was so excited because I collect his records because when his name is on a record, it sounds like butter. That's the only way I can put it. I don't know what button he has, but my new song sounds like butter. Thank you. Maybe margarine.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob's, he's so great. And, his student who became, a big mastering guy himself, Howie Weinberg, is like one of my close friends. And so he's done a lot of rock records, but he learned from Bob. I mean, Bob was his teacher. You know what I mean? So...
Well, I lived next to Adam Jones from Tool in Studio City. And when he put out his new Tool record, he brought me down to rehearsal, and I was one of the first people to hear it. And I looked at the credits, and it said mastered by Robert Ludwig. I go, there's no way that's the same dude that did Led Zeppelin 2 and Jimi Hendrix and the Eagles. There's that. That's not the same guy. He goes, yes, it is. He's like 81. He's still mastering albums. And I said to my record company, if you really want to make me happy, get him to master this. And they go, no problem, dude. And I wanted to go interview him I wanted to get all the stories about like Led Zeppelin 2, the bass on it, Kiss Alive,
Yeah.
Donald Fagen, The Night Fly, which is one of my favorite records.
Yeah.
There's a funny story about that. I never got to meet him like you did, but I did talk to him on the phone. And he said, Sebastian, like, what are you looking for? And well, one of my favorite records ever is Donald Fagen, The Night Fly. I go, you think you can make my record sound like that? He goes, no.
That's hilarious.
He goes, Sebastian, this is not Donald Fagen, The Night Fly.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
We were laughing. I was laughing so hard. I was like, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like, but there are moments on this record, like you've only heard one song, the whole album just is so exactly the way I want it. And there's one tune that I can't give any other titles out yet, but there's that I consider to be the heaviest song that I've ever been a part of. And the way I sing the verses is so mean and dirty, but then I sing the choruses really like Steely Dan, like clean harmonies that are just crazy. And it does sound like heavy metal yacht rock in a way.
Yeah. Hey, you
Because
know, look,
I love yacht rock.
hey, listen, y'all got to tell you something, Sebastian. I love those Steely Dan albums. Can't Buy a Thrill, Countdown to Ecstasy, Pretzel Logic, all that stuff. Katie Light. Those records are incredible. I mean,
Yes.
we can like everything, you know what I mean? Like a lot of different things. And there's something about those Steely Dan records. They sound amazing. And
You know what I always tell people that say that? Get into the Donald Fagen solo material
yeah,
because
Nightfly is amazing.
Nightfly is amazing. All of his solo records are incredible. There's a song called "The Dunes" that we would listen to on the tour bus going to the next gig. It's just about the production for me. I love the way it sounds. It's like I love I Remember You. I love 18 in Life. I mean,
Yeah.
I make good sounding records myself, but the thing about the yacht rock is just the vocals are so smooth.
Yeah.
Recorded in luxurious studios.
Yeah, it's great. I love that, man. And looking back, so it's great. We're gonna have the first new album from you, and it's 10 years, right, since we've really which is
Well,
incredible.
you can't really count 2 of those years, but yes, that's accurate.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we're happy about it. Hey, speaking of the first album, so many great songs on that record. And people back then tried to put you in a glam box, but I always thought you guys were so much more than that. And then Slave to the Grind, you definitely made a major shift there, which was really cool. Tell me about that. Was that just the way that you wanted to do it at the time, or was it?
Well, yeah. We had really big hits, as you remember, with 18 in Life, and then I Remember You was even bigger. So
It's a great song, by the way. I love that song. I still do. I think that's a
right
great
on.
tune.
Nora Jones says that's one of her favorite songs of all time. Every time she hears it, she's in her car with her parents, like when a little kid. So that's cool. And Carrie Underwood does all this rock stuff now. The first rock song she ever did was "I Remember You" by Skid Row. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's a great song. Hey, it was really, I know you lost your dad really young, but your dad did the album cover artwork too with Slave to the Grind. Tell me about that, because he was a painter. I always wanted to ask you about that, and being a kid, your parents really nurtured you into and your love for music, right?
Yeah, I can remember one of my most thrilling things as a kid would be when I'd be sitting in class and the PA would go off and they would say, Sebastian, come to the principal's office. And I was like, what did I do? Like, I'm in trouble again.
Yeah.
And I would get down there and my dad would be in there and he would say, hey, man, you're going to come help me install the art show today in Toronto. I'm taking you out for the afternoon. And the teachers would be like smiling. And I'd be like, oh, that's cool. So I was his little buddy, helping him carry the art out of the truck and put it on the wall of the gallery, and then for doing that, he would buy me comic books. And in the mid 70s, I collected. Well, I still do, but I loved comics when I was a kid, and that's actually how I first got into Kiss because they put out. Well, yeah, they put out that comic printed in their own blood, and me and my buddies thought it was their blood. Like,
Yeah, like they probably used one vial for like all that ink, but it was still cool. I remember hearing it too as a kid and thinking that was like it was so dangerous, right? At the time, and I
who
loved
even
Kiss
thinks of
too,
that?
so right? I mean, it was
Who
incredible.
even thinks of that? And here we are 50 years later talking about it. It's crazy. So that was, I got into I was in the church choir, which was how I really got into singing. But yeah, my dad, he also is doing the artwork for my new record, and he hasn't been alive since 2002. So to make to give his art life in 2024 is very heavy to me, and it's a labor of love. It's like I go through the files and I go, this would be cool, this would be cool, and that it's really a labor of love.
I think that's great, man. I do. I mean, I absolutely understand because I lost my dad, and he was a big supporter of my love for music and wanted to do radio and
I'm
things.
sorry, how old was your dad?
At the time, he was not as young as your dad. He was 76, but
It's still too
it
still a ripoff.
yeah, it is, man. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Not to get too heavy, but my dad, when he died, was so young, 57, that for a while after he died, I was actually angry at him for dying. I was like, how could you not take care of yourself and leave us all? And I was in a bar in Tokyo, Japan, with Jolyn Turner,
Yeah,
the singer of Rainbow.
yeah,
And we were putting back some red wine and getting emotional. You know how that goes.
yeah. Oh, I do.
And I
Absolutely.
was like, mad. I was like, my fucking dad died, and how could he do that? And Joel Turner's listening to me, sipping his wine, and then he puts his glass down. He looks at me right in the eye, and he goes, Sebastian, do you think he wanted to? And I was like, that shut me up right there. And I go, well, no. I didn't
Yeah,
see it.
right.
It's like,
But I'm glad
and,
it's so cool
and,
you're paying tribute to him and using his artwork for this record. I mean,
mm,
you know,
absolutely,
I,
absolutely,
I
and
have.
and also, like, I'm allowed to say this. I think I'm gonna be doing my own art shows. I know it sounds crazy, but Wentworth Galleries, who handles Paul Stanley and Ronnie Wood of the Stones, and a bunch of Rick Allen from Def Leppard. They want me to do an art show, and a lot of it's going to be me finishing my dad's unfinished pieces to start with anyways, but
That's
so
gonna
that
be
that's
amazing.
exciting too. Yeah.
That is great. I mean, I think it's so cool that you're doing that.
Right.
And I've always loved the fact that you could do a thing like Jekyll and Hyde. You could do Broadway. You could,
Mhm.
the fact that the thing I've always loved the most about you, Sebastian, is you're like, hey, I'm gonna do that if I feel like doing it. You've never ever hesitated to do what you love to do and to explore other things in different ways with singing and music and the arts, which I think is so cool. But and even having fun, like you recently on The Masked Singer, right? You did.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I was so happy you did. I Was Made for Loving You because I would have been disappointed if you didn't do a Kiss song, right? But it was great. So was that
Well,
fun?
as much as I love Kiss, and I do, that Kiss vocals aren't right in my vocal sweet spot. My voice is more like Steve Perry of Journey, or like on The Masked Singer, I got to sing, "Oh, ho, ho, it's magic, you know."
Pilot. That's a good song. We love that song growing up.
It,
you know.
it's not. Ozempic.
I know that freaked me out when I started seeing that commercial. I was like, "Oh, come on, don't ruin that for me," you know?
Don't ruin it. So,
Yeah,
but right, that range, that high tenor, is where I can really belt out notes. So what I did in I Was Made for Loving You, I sang half of it in Paul's lead vocal, and then I did half of it in like the high harmony that's behind the vocal, but I alternated it. And then I listened back and it's awesome. I love it. Like
yeah,
I thought it was really cool. Matt, you know what? I try to tell this to people. I trip out on music. Okay, like I'm the kind of guy who I don't go to the bathroom when the band plays a new song.
yeah.
I want to hear new songs. I trip out when I there's a song by my favorite band that I've never heard before. I'm like, it takes me on a journey, and I love music of all kinds, except for like really commercial stuff that doesn't hit me. But
We're probably in the same neighborhood with that because I like things that are real songs. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Where
and I like real people playing them, and I don't like
yeah,
everything perfect. And
yeah. Oh,
I
that's
don't
what.
like my records brick walled, like as loud as they can go with no dynamics. This album is dynamic in every way. There's ballads. When it's a quiet part, it's quiet, and when it's heavy, it is heavy. And so I couldn't be more proud of it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So but there is a fine line. Like on Broadway, I did Jekyll and Hyde. I was Riff Raff and Rocky Horror. They wanted me to be Frankenfurter, but I don't look that good in tights. Um,
Are you
and
sure?
then,
No, that's
yeah,
great. No,
well,
that's awesome. No, but
maybe
that
I do. Maybe they know something I don't.
was it fun doing riff raff though. That must have been great, right?
And then I was Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar. But then they offered me to be the dream catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the evil tall thing that comes out with his hands are like Edward Scissors hands and he cuts off kids' heads and stuff. And I go, well, that sounds kind of interesting, but it's only one song a night, which I can't really see myself doing. And then I just couldn't go on my website and say to all my fans, hey, man, come see me in Chitty Chitty Bang.
I understand. Like it's
It's
Jekyll and
like,
Hyde, Jesus Christ
yeah,
Superstar, and
right.
Rocky Horror all have a cool element. That's right. You know what I mean? They do. They're definitely cool. You know, they've got and they have
And
some history.
my agency was like, "Are you stupid?" Because they're like every actor on Broadway would kill to get these offers, and you don't want to do it. I go, it's gotta have a rock element for me to do it, So that's the way it is. Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta say, too, I was upset when I heard that, because I was there actually still living in Jersey at the time, not in California, not in LA, when Hurricane Sandy came. And, I was in North Jersey, but I was from Central, and I knew you were in Red Bank. And when I heard you got hit, I was like, first thing I thought about was your Kiss collectibles and the things that you loved. Because, I've had those conversations about how much we love Kiss. And, but most of that, everything, nothing got ruined, right? I mean, was it?
Oh, a lot. My whole basement was submerged. They had to send police divers down into my basement to swim around to look for dead bodies. Okay, that doesn't happen every day. Like
Wow.
so, but it was Hurricane Irene.
It wasn't Sandy, right? It was
No, it was the year before Sandy, and everybody told me, "Oh, that's 100-year storm. That's never going to happen again." And then the very next year was Sandy. So wasn't 100-year storm. It was a 1-year storm. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. So, anyways, I lost the Kiss pinball machine, which sucks. That
Well,
was down there.
we're gonna have to look for another one for you. They've got to be. There's
Oh,
got to be one out
are
there.
you gonna pull a Willie Nelson on me, like when he had to sell all his stuff and then everybody bought it and gave it back to him?
Uh, you know, Is that what he did? That's amazing. That's
Right,
incredible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually did have a library down in the basement that had every Skid Row magazine from around the world, like from Japan and Australia and Europe and Brazil and all that. And it was so big. It was like the whole wall of rock mags from and Kiss magazine, all rock magazines, and that got wrecked. So that sucks.
Well, I am sorry about that, Sebastian.
All
You know,
right.
I know the Kiss did their last show, and you went to the shows, and I saw them at a lot of festivals over the last 2 years too. I always want to ask you because you covered "Come On and Love Me," but what was your favorite? Do you have a favorite Kiss album or a favorite couple of albums that are your?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Because you know,
I love Rock and Roll Over. I love
yeah, the fourth studio.
I
album.
love this record
Fifth.
so much. I love
Yeah.
the song "Take Me."
Take Me is great. Yeah.
You wanna?
That's the fifth album. I love that. I love that record, man. You know, it's that I'm sure you were like me when you were a kid. Those records, you knew every note of them, every feel, every nuance, right? I mean,
I've got like 16 copies of each.
Yeah.
From all over the world in different pressings. I love Hotter Than Hell.
That's one of my favorite albums. I love you telling me that because that was. Do you know? I don't know if you noticed, Sebastian, but it was me and Alex Coletti that convinced MTV to do the Unplugged because he came into me. He goes, "What's wrong with your music department, man? They don't think Kiss are worthy of an Unplugged." I said, "Let's go talk to him," and then we talked to him, and eventually Gene and Paul took us out for lunch to thank us after the Unplugged. And the first thing I asked him was, I said, "I love Hotter Than Hell. It's one of my favorite albums of all time." I go, but between that, Dressed to Kill, and the first album, the sound is really muddy and grungy, but I still love every note, every feeling.
I don't mind the sound. Like I always read this on the Kiss message groups.
Yeah, neither do I.
They say, "Oh, I like this record, but it sounds horrible." And it sounds like hell. It's called Hotter Than Hell.
I know.
It sounds.
I love the way it sounds because I'm it's in your blueprint, man. You know, when you hear like it's just like hear Parasite or Let Me Go Rock and Roll or any of those tunes. Plus, it's got one of the greatest love songs. Coming Home is like just one of my,
And I have the first album, White Label Promo, which came out before the album came out. And I swear it has like a little difference in the mastering. There's a little more echo on the background vocals.
Yeah. And it doesn't have Kiss in
come to my
time,
house, right? I could play this for you. And when I play it for people, their jaws hit the floor because it is so primal Kiss. I don't know. It's like mint condition, my copy. Maybe it's just mint from 73. But it sounds different, man, and I love that.
Well, maybe it is because remember they did there was one pressing of the album with or without Kiss in time, right? Like
yes.
So that would be maybe that's it. Like maybe there was something that was done in a master and they went out to remaster it again, or something.
I'm fascinated with all that stuff. Like there's a thing in vinyl, hot copy or hot wax or something where collectors look for the best pressing of each album, like which plant, you know what I mean? Like crazy stuff. Yeah. But I'm crazy.
I love that though. I think it's the best. I mean, I'm so glad you said Hotter Than Hell because a lot of my friends know that's probably my favorite. Because I know it sounds dirty, but I love it. But it's hard to have a favorite, but it's definitely one of my favorites. It is hard to have a favorite.
Like if you're talking about pure excitement, the beginning of Kiss Alive, Deuce is pretty tough to beat.
Yeah, it is tough to beat. Absolutely. Opening that first side, man, that album is just.
That is like.
Yeah. And
mastered by Robert Ludwig, who did the new Sebastian Bach. Thank you.
Sebastian, so can we talk about touring? Because a lot of people want to know if you're going to be touring. There was also talk of after you did the first Skid Row album anniversary of you doing Slave to the Grind. I want to kind of know, but I mean, with this great new single, which obviously you can already tell people are reacting amazingly to it. And are you thinking about putting the guys together and doing a tour?
My band, yeah, not Skid Row yet, because
Yeah.
I don't have any contact with those guys, but
Oh, I meant like
Rob Fuso, the drummer of Skid Row,
he's on this
is in my
record. I
he's on
love.
my new video. He's the
Yeah.
drummer. So we're talking about maybe getting together, me and him in my band. We have a full South American tour booked with Mr. Big.
Yeah, it's great.
Um, and that's like Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, Mexico, Argentina.
I think it's gonna be
Then,
great.
then I got something really exciting to say. The promoter, Danny Wimmer Presents, who has a monopoly on all these rock festivals, has decided to delve into the dark side.
Yeah.
And I'm playing Welcome to Rockville with Foo Fighters, Slipknot, Evanescence, and um, it's now called Welcome to Bachville.
Which I think is great. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be there with you too. I'll be there because I do cover all those festivals, and I'm excited, so I'll get to see you. But I want to see you in Los Angeles too, of course. I love this new track, and I just can't wait to hear the rest of the record. And Sebastian, I've always loved and appreciated, man. You're true rock and roll spirit, because to me that's why I fell in love with rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted my rock stars to be rock stars. You know what I mean?
I want to bring back one thing, like, since the internet has changed all of our lives, and you and me are old enough to remember when there was no such thing as the internet. So I really want to bring the fun back to rock. Like a lot of, when I go on the internet, mostly it's this guy said this about this guy, and this guy said this about this guy, and this guy, and it's just so meaningless. It has nothing to do with music.
Yeah.
So I want to bring back the fun that I used to have, like watching David Lee Roth on stage, or Judas Priest, any of my favorite bands. Rock and roll used to be nothing but fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so I want to bring that back. And when I watch my new video and when I listen to this song, I have a huge smile on my face.
Yeah, it's great. Craig Gass, right? Was in as well. I know you're friends with Craig Gass as well, right? So let's talk about.
Yeah. He does a hilarious Sebastian impression. He did a way longer one, but we filmed that in the desert, and we didn't think about the wind. So the wind messed up the audio. So he had to re-record it like in a studio. So it's like, because he did a whole long Sebastian thing that we were just crying. He's absolutely hilarious. He's so funny. And my lovely wife Suzanne makes the video look incredible. We were inspired by Whitesnake, Tawny Katane, on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
We're like, now we got a rock video.
It's great. And you guys had so much fun doing it, which you can tell,
Yes.
what I mean, which is really great. And that's what it should be.
Yep.
I'm so pumped about it. Sebastian, thank you so much for doing this.
Matt, I'm glad you're healthy. I've been following you on X Twitter, and I'm glad you're healthy, and I'm glad you're still rocking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sebastian. I'm really grateful, man, to be sober, sane, and because nothing gives me more pleasure than music and rock and roll. That's what I love. I love music, man, more than anything. I love.
I have been waiting so long to share this album with the world that I'm tripping over myself to share this, and I know what you mean. Like I'm like Christmas, like last night, getting ready to talk to you. I'm just so excited for people to listen to this, and I'm guarantee you, if you like the album Skid Row, if you like Slave to the Grind, if you like Subhuman Race, if you like any of my solo albums, you will love this album, and I guarantee it.
Because we should hang out sometime and play records. I'd love to come over and hang with you and Suzanne. You know?
No problem.
Because
We're in Vegas.
you and I love that. We love the rock, and we love the. I mean, and we're like the total like. It's funny. You and I in a room talking about like music and listening to songs. I mean, I want to listen to Hotter Than Hell with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're like geeks. We're music geeks.
Total music geeks, and I'm proud of it because man, I love it. It gave me so much joy through my entire life, and I'll never lose that. And you've never lost that, which is that full spirit that you had when you were a kid and you fell in love with it. You know?
That's right. Absolutely, 100%.
And I, you know, I don't. I will never lose it because I.
You know, rock and roll definitely does in some weird way. It does keep you young. Like it. I don't know why, but like I got all these amazing rock and roll clothes that I've collected, you know, for 35, 40 years now. And I want to wear them. So I got to go running for 4 or 5 miles. I got to do hot yoga as much as I can. I got to eat fake meat instead of like I got to think about what I'm doing, or I can't wear any of my cool T-shirts.
Yeah, and you've had those. I bet you've kept all your favorite ones too.
Yeah, I even keep the ones that I can't fit into anymore. I still got those.
That's great though. Yeah, because I mean you can't part with them, and especially if it's from some tour or design that you love. You know.
Well, my point being is that rock and roll inspires me to be in shape and feel good and have a good attitude and be in a good mood and take care of my body physically. Like it's rock and roll, which inspires me to do that. Like if I was working at some job that I hated, I doubt I would care about, you know, my health or whatever. If I didn't care about getting up in the morning, and I love this album and talking to you and getting the word out, and it just inspires me, and I can't wait to do yoga or go running because it all helps me with my album.
Yeah, it helps you and get ready to tour, and then you'll have that great energy, right? Which is
well, you need to be in shape if you're getting on stage, man. You need. I mean, it's very aerobic, and you know what they say when you're in the studio. You're playing to your audience. When you do a show, the audience is playing you. And sometimes I have to like ignore the crowd because they get so excited. And I'm like, dude, you gotta think about what you're doing. Like like Keith Richards says, he's like playing a live guitar in a live concert is like holding on to an electric eel. That's
amazing. Yeah. Ah! Yeah. Especially with like feeding off that energy from the audience too, which is so great, right?
Sometimes it can be too much.
Yeah.
Like sometimes.
Well, and I love that you can still like, I mean, your voice still sounds incredible and you can hit those notes, which is the thing. You've always had that incredible range. So I'm pumped about this tour.
Cool, man.
You know,
welcome to Rockville. We're going to hang out that day at least.
Yeah, we absolutely are. Sebastian Bach, the new single, What Do I Got to Lose, is so great. New album coming in 2024. We're really excited about it. I'm Matt Pinfield. This is KLOS.